Act as if nothing bothers you, and watch what starts to happen. Stoicism. Have you ever noticed how some people walk through chaos like it barely touches them? The traffic, the insults, the bad news, it all seems to slide right off them, while the same things leave you clenched, replaying, and exhausted. Here's the uncomfortable truth: those people are not luckier than you, and they don't have easier lives. They've simply learned something the ancient Stoics discovered 2,000 years ago, that the moment you stop visibly reacting to everything, everything starts to change. Now, before we go any further, let's clear up the biggest misunderstanding about this idea. Acting as if nothing bothers you is not the same as pretending. It is not bottling up your anger, forcing a fake smile, or numbing yourself until you feel nothing at all. The Stoics were not emotionless robots, and they never asked you to become one. What they taught was something far more powerful. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and became one of the greatest philosophers in history, put it plainly. He taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but the judgments we form about those events. Read that again. The insult didn't hurt you. Your belief that the insult mattered, that's what hurt you. So when a Stoic acts unbothered, it's not a performance. It's the outward expression of an inner decision. They have examined the situation, recognized what lies within their control and what does not, and chosen not to hand their peace over to something outside themselves. Suppression is pushing a feeling down and letting it rot. Stoicism is looking at the feeling honestly, questioning the judgment underneath it, and letting it dissolve because it was never worth the fire you were about to give it. That's the difference. And once you start practicing it, watch what begins to happen. The first thing you'll notice is that people start treating you differently. They respect you more, even if they can't explain why. Think about it from the other side. When someone can push your buttons, they own your buttons. The coworker who teases you, the driver who cuts you off, the relative who makes that one comment at dinner, the moment you flinch, snap, or sulk, you've shown everyone exactly where your controls are located. But when you respond to provocation with calm, something shifts in the room. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman world, reminded himself in his private journal that the best revenge is to be unlike the person who caused the injury. Picture this. Someone criticizes your work in a meeting, hoping to rattle you. Instead of getting defensive, you pause, nod, and say, "That's worth considering. Let me look at it." No heat. No wounded pride. Who looks stronger in that moment? Who does everyone remember as the composed one? Calmness, it turns out, is the most underrated form of authority. The second change happens inside your own head, mental clarity. Here's what most people never realize: being bothered is expensive. Every irritation you entertain rents space in your mind. The argument you keep replaying, the email you keep rereading, the slight you keep analyzing, all of it is mental bandwidth that could be going toward your goals, your family, your actual life. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of what torments you hasn't happened, isn't happening, and probably never will happen. It's a story you're telling yourself. When you practice letting things pass without grabbing onto them, your mind quiets down. And a quiet mind sees clearly. You start noticing solutions that were invisible when you were fogged with frustration. Imagine your phone buzzing with a rude message right before an important task. The old you loses an hour composing replies in your head. The new you reads it, thinks, interesting, puts the phone down, and does the task. That hour you just saved. That's clarity paying you back. Third comes something even deeper: emotional freedom. Epictetus taught that some things are up to us, our opinions, our choices, our responses, and some things are not, other people's actions, their words, the weather, the economy, the past. Freedom, he said, comes from focusing entirely on the first category and releasing your grip on the second. Most people live as emotional hostages. Their mood depends on traffic, on likes, on whether a stranger was polite to them. Their happiness has 1,000 landlords. But when you act as if nothing bothers you, because you've genuinely decided that most things don't deserve to, you take the keys back. Nobody can ruin your day without your cooperation. Marcus Aurelius captured this in a single thought: if you refuse the judgment that you've been harmed, the sense of harm disappears. Your neighbor's noise, your friend's flakiness, the stranger's rudeness, they become weather. You notice weather. You don't argue with it. The fourth transformation shows up in your decisions. Ask yourself honestly, how many of your worst choices were made while you were upset? The message you fired off in anger. The purchase you made to soothe a bad day. The job you quit in a moment of fury, or the opportunity you rejected out of wounded pride. Emotion is a terrible advisor with a very persuasive voice. Seneca, who wrote an entire work on anger, described it as a brief madness, a state in which we stop seeing the truth of things. The person who acts unbothered isn't just protecting their image. They're protecting their judgment. When your boss drops bad news on you, the reactive person panics and starts updating their resume at midnight. The Stoic takes a breath and asks the only question that matters: what is actually within my control here? Then they act on that, and only that. Over months and years, this compounds. Calm decisions stack into a calm life. And fifth, quietly, underneath it all, you find inner peace, the real kind, not the kind you have to fly somewhere to rent. Marcus Aurelius wrote that people seek retreats for themselves in the countryside, by the sea, in the mountains, and yet at any moment you can retreat into your own soul. Nowhere is quieter or more free of trouble than a well-ordered mind. That's the secret destination of this whole practice. When you stop demanding that the world behave itself before you're allowed to feel okay, you carry your refuge with you. Into traffic. Into the hospital waiting room. Into the difficult conversation. The world doesn't get calmer. You do. So how do you actually build this? Here's a technique you can start today, and it costs you nothing but a few seconds. The Stoics understood that between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a gap. Your entire practice lives in that gap. So today, when something pokes at you, and something will, do this. First, pause. Don't speak, don't type, don't react. Take one slow breath. Second, name it plainly, the way Marcus Aurelius trained himself to strip events down to their bare facts. Someone said words. A car changed lanes. A plan changed. No drama, no story, just what happened. Third, ask the question, is this within my control? If it isn't, breathe out and let it belong to the universe. If it is, act, calmly, deliberately, without the heat. That's the whole practice. Pause, name it, sort it, act. In the evening, do what Seneca did every night, review the day and ask yourself where you stayed steady and where you got hooked. No guilt, just observation. Every rep makes the gap wider, and everything good in this philosophy lives in that gap. Here's the truth you've been circling this whole time. You cannot control what happens today. You never could. Someone will be rude. Something will break. Some plan will fall apart. That was always going to be true. The only real question, the question the Stoics spent their lives answering, is who you're going to be while it happens. So try it. For 1 week, act as if nothing bothers you. Not because you're pretending, but because you've finally understood that almost nothing deserves the power you've been giving it. Watch how people look at you differently. Watch how your mind clears. Watch how the days feel longer, lighter, more yours. 2,000 years ago, a slave, an emperor, and a statesman all discovered the same secret from completely different lives: the world has no handle on the person who refuses to hand one over. Stay calm. Stay present. And watch what starts to happen.